This is Mark Hutten with myaspergerschild.com, and I want to talk to those parents out there who have a child who has been rejected by his friends, classmates, and other peers. Peer rejection is a terribly important issue to address because there's a lot of research that suggests that numerous negative outcomes can result from peer rejection. Studies dealing with the implications of peer rejection on later development indicate that children experiencing harsh and continuous rejection over the years are inclined to dropping out of school, becoming criminals, vagrancy, and joining street gangs in order to fulfill the basic need to belong. These children may reach a stage of despair, a decline in their self-image, loneliness and seclusion, and behavioral difficulties, and they may also suffer later from serious emotional disturbances and lack of ability to create meaningful relationships as adults. In addition, research shows that rejected social status is connected to a broad spectrum of negative social behaviors, for example, conflicts, aggression, hyperactivity, and immature forms of social and cognitive play. So the ramifications of peer rejection are very serious. It's true, rejection is a part of life, but it's crucial for parents to help their children learn how to deal with setbacks, whether they're cut from a sports team or left out of a clique. How do you know if your child's being rejected by his peers? Well, it's easiest to see it in interactions. If your child, for example, goes out to play, but he returns in 15 minutes, or if he returns in tears, or if nobody calls him throughout the week, or if he doesn't want to go to school or claims to be sick a lot, then you may need to take some action. The most important thing for the parent to remember is to keep cool, at least in front of your child. When your child is snubbed, it can bring up old feelings of rejection for you too. If you're responding from your own hurt feelings, it's hard to be helpful. And if your child picks up on them, it may make him feel worse about the whole thing. So you need to switch gears and be supportive rather than venting your own disappointment. When you try to console your child over the fact that he's being rejected by his peers, you may be tempted to say something like, "Life isn't a popularity contest." But to your child, it certainly can feel like it is a popularity contest. Starting in kindergarten, kids become more selective in choosing their peers. And that's good, but it also means that they sometimes get hurt. In order to fully develop the skills necessary to overcome upsetting and challenging situations, kids must be supported in their desire to become independent and self-sufficient at every turn. The more in control a youngster is of his life, the more confidence he has to successfully navigate the social stage, which will make up a good portion of his life. An overprotective or overly involved parent only serves to slow this process down and raises kids who are dependent on the mother or father rather than on themselves. These kids tend to lack the confidence to deal with the challenges of everyday life. And to be able to deal with these challenges independently is a critical component to coping with peer rejection. When you're discussing peer rejection with your child, you may want to use your own experience as an example. It may help for you to haul out a humiliating story from your own past, for example, being stood up on prom night, but only if you can set a good example by explaining how you got over it. Also, when you notice that your child has been rejected, try to focus on helping him to find his own way to cope. For example, you could say, "I know that you're upset because your friend didn't come over. What are you going to do to make yourself feel better?" This gives your youngster the opportunity to see himself as someone who can survive a difficult situation, and you may even be surprised to find out that he has more inner resources than you think. You can also remind your child that there have been times when the tables have been turned. In other words, he's been the rejecter. In this way, he can begin to understand the importance of empathy in making and keeping friends. When your child reveals to you that she's being rejected by her friends or bullied or teased, help her to understand that what is happening and why it's happening is not her fault. If, for example, a group of girls make snide remarks anytime your daughter passes their table in the school cafeteria, you can explain to your daughter that they're insecure and are poking fun at others in order to feel better about themselves. You do want to try to lift your child's spirits. Taking a walk together, watching a silly movie, or grabbing some lunch at his favorite restaurant will help clear his mind. You also don't want to avoid the issue. Even if your daughter says she doesn't want to talk about it, try again later. She'll come around. Do encourage your child to vent. Airing his frustration off the record with you, instead of publicly on Facebook or Twitter, will help him save face in the long run. Also, don't be petty. You can't teach your youngster to be a bigger and better person when you resort to name-calling yourself or blaming the bully. Also, you want to offer some good perspective. Sharing a personal story of a time when you overcame a hurtful snub proves that life goes on. And don't trivialize your child's feelings. It may not seem like a big deal to you, but right now, it's the world to her. And lastly, consider seeking outside help if necessary. If your child clams up around you, encourage him to talk to a sibling, grandparent, teacher, or any other adult mentor. Peer rejection is something to be taken very seriously, so if it's happening to your child, you may want to take action now before he or she begins to act out in ways that will damage relationships even further.